What is up, everyone, and once again it's Lovenji here, and we are back with Warhammer Dark Omen, and back on time as well. It's a miracle. Now, this mission is going to be an interesting one. It's another optional mission, but I almost always end up doing it. It can be hard until you fall into a sort of a set rhythm of doing it the same way, and then once you get some consistency down, you can sort of do this mission again and again and again. But without further ado, let's get this underway.
How much further?
Almost there. You're like our chief. He's human, like you lot. Oh, he's real hard, he is. He tells us what to do.
What's his name?
Jürgen Muntz.
Jürgen Muntz? He's notorious, a notorious outlaw. Did you hear that, Klaus? I told you ogres weren't to be trusted. I'll have no part of this. I'm leaving right now. Goodbye.
Don't hurry back. Hey, Erblat. What are you getting us into with this Muntz character?
Well, our chief aims to have a bash at a green-skin camp close by and grab the booty. The chief thought you might, fancy having a go at them yourself,
So he knew we were coming? I suppose he's aware of any travelers through his patch of forest. I'll have to talk to the commander about this. Morgan!
What's wrong?
I think we're being manipulated. Jürgen Muntz is behind all this. He's the ogre's chief. It's my guess he concocted this story about the flooded road to lure us into an attack on a greenskin camp. This could be a real time waster, Morgan. And time is often more precious than gold coin.
We've got time, and we can always use more coin. We'll attack the camp with Muntz.
Okay, so here we are in this mission, and we've agreed to help Jürgen Muntz attack a goblin camp for loot. Now, there are two treasure chests in the middle, and we're going to ignore them entirely. They are absolutely not worth it. I believe each chest contains 300 gold. Those goblins are going to run right for it, and by charging forward, you're actually going to hit all the spawn triggers. There is artillery on this field, so you want to be very, very careful. We're deploying in a very particular manner. There is another subset of white flags to the northwest of the map. We don't use them because that forces the enemy to divide, and it's actually much harder to clear the mission with the enemy divided than trying to funnel them through this small choke. I can hear you going already, but the great swords! Yeah, there's just not enough room to deploy everything we need and not risk friendly fire. So the Flagellants and the Greatswords are going to be getting a mission off. Don't worry, I pay for it later. You want to be very careful with deploying like this. You want to make sure it is as compact as you can physically get it, because these units will shoot each other otherwise. You want to stick those artillery right at the top. So the infantry are going to support the artillery, and that's the main thing. Now, we start to change how we fire the artillery in this mission. We don't do it consistently across the whole mission, that's sort of a bit for later, but we're going to be doing ground firing now. This is often much more accurate. So you give the cannon an order, and when it fires, you hold, and then you order again. And you try to make sure you're ordering on the ground where the enemy is going to be, as opposed to ordering on the enemy regiment. This, I found, drastically increases the accuracy of your cannons, which is a good or bad thing. If your cannons get too many kills, you're denying your units kills for the later missions, and that can be a bad thing. I'm particularly lazy about doing it in this mission. I start to do it a lot more in later missions because it becomes a lot more important. But notably, you saw me do it to get a very good shot on the Orc siege equipment.
Enemy sighted.
And a fantastic shot there. It's possibly the best possible shot we could have got.
Enemy sighted.
So we don't mind if the enemy leave with those chests. It's not worth it. The reason we do this mission is for the magical items that are in this mission, and not the chests of gold. So this mission has the banner of arcane warding, in which you get a banner that redirects spells towards other enemy units. So it's great for returning volleys back at the necromancer and things like that. It's arguably the most useful item in this mission, and it's carried by one of the orc regiments that spawns slightly later on. The other item is the Horn of Urgot. It makes enemy units flee and rallies your units if they are fleeing, so long as they're in earshot. So it has its very niche uses, but as you know, undead don't particularly flee, so it's not always useful. Anyway, as you can start to see now, the sort of half moon we've deployed in has made it very easy for us to protect all our units. The spider is going to get in on our cannon, but because of where the cavalry and the infantry are placed, it's going to be very easy to just kill that spider before the cannon even takes damage.
We fear the enemy! Charge! Target received! Hold fire!
So there you go. And that's 3 giant spiders dealt with very easily.
Open fire!
We prioritise helping here because we also get the ogre regiment, and as you can see, the ogres are just incredibly tough. There's only 3 of them, but they behave like a large monster unit. They can inflict fear on units capable of feeling fear, and they're just very strong, robust fighters. We'll be using them pretty much throughout for the rest of the game. And they have different voice lines to everyone else, just because.
Aye, sir. Halt!
So the map is clear, but
Enemy sighted!
yeah. So
Yes, my lord.
the cave to the very north, I'm not showing you it, will start to now spawn orcs, it'll spawn big uns, and the shaman.
Received.
The shaman will cast some very dangerous magic in this mission, so it's important to be careful.
Enemy sighted!
And from the woods come 2 units of Boyz.
Yes, my
Now
lord.
all of this comes at once if you go charging forward for the
Yes, my lord. Enemy
gold,
sighted.
so you lose your position advantage and your ability to protect your artillery if you go rushing forward for that gold, and it's really just not worth it. I have seen 1 or 2 players successfully manage to get that gold, but really, I keep saying it and I will keep saying it, it's just not worth it.
To arms! Charge!
So we're going to put Muntz's Outlaw Infantry to good use here. We're just going to use them as a bit of a body shield. If any unit is going to take damage, we want it to be them, because they're a temporary
To
unit.
arms! Forward! Target received! Target received! Watch your fire! Charge! Open
So that little
fire!
blue Nova, even though they didn't have a dispel on them, they're holding the banner, which is what caused that to happen.
Charge! Open fire!
So we're getting some good shots on the cannon because the big ones are walking towards it. I'm really not worried because of how much we've softened up this regiment.
Aye, sir.
The archers, the crossbowmen even, are going to be there to take a good chunk of the damage. You can hear a giant green foot is stomping on my army. That's the orcish equivalent to the meteor. The bright wizard can cast a meteor, and that's the orcish equivalent. It does a lot of damage, but that's why the dispel is on the cavalry.
To arms!
So I forget to give a hold fire to the mortar, and I pay for it in the form of 3 casualties, which you'll see very shortly. Because I don't look where it's shooting, and I actually charge into it. But
Watch your fire!
absolutely ridiculous.
Help us!
So he screams for help, but this is more or less the end of the mission. It looks super simple, and the key to it is really, as with most missions, just don't charge forward. If you don't charge forward, you don't get trapped, and then you can clear the mission systematically.
Forward!
Now we're going into a sped up segment, yeah. You may have seen me pick up the banner, but what you now need to do is blast this statue on the left with fire, and eventually it will spit out the Horn of Urgok. So that's all I'm doing, is just waiting for magic and the magic cycles, and throwing fire at this statue. It takes a little bit of time, and there you go. So we've picked up two very interesting magical items this mission, except for one of them's really not useful to us given the nature of the enemies that we fight. We've got the Horn of Urgok and the Banner of Arcane Warding, one of which will protect us from magic, one of which will make enemy troops rout, which, as you know, the undead don't do for most of their regiments. But it will be useful for instantly killing zombies later on in a couple of missions, as well as its other effect is it can stop your men retreating, and we can use that a couple of times as well. It's a good item to have, but I wouldn't prioritise getting it. It's not quite a go back if your run is over type deal. Anyway, as always, like, share the video, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you'd like to see me do in future videos. Bye for now.